There is no doubt that there are some men that enter marriage without the skill set to truly connect with their wife. There, I said it.
And it's you and me, babe, whatever comes. Knowing bigger hands are holding ours, and the greatest days are ahead of us. Growing in love, learning to be a better us.
Hi there, you stopped at the right place. This is our home, and this is A Better Us. Welcome.
It's been said that feelings and emotions are the purest forms of communication, and they transcend all languages.
You know, that sounds good and all, but what if one of you isn't very fluent in the language of emotion? Now, I'm not going to point fingers because...
You'd be pointing at yourself?
I would be, exactly.
That's what I thought.
But never fear, guys, because coming up, we're on the beach with Dr. Mike, and he's helping us figure out this whole emotional needs thing.
And he's going to help us wives figure out ways to connect with our emotionally disconnected men.
Also, relationship experts Bill and Pam Farrel are here with what might be a new concept to many of us, establishing the ground rules to those sure-to-come future conflicts.
But one thing we're not conflicted about is who's joining into the conversation. We have CFL football great Mike Pinball Clemens and his wife Diane.
Recording artists and author Dan and Danielle McCauley.
And youth and children's pastors Eric and Kara Maines.
We're all set, so let's get started.
Okay, there is no doubt that there are some men that enter marriage without the skill set to truly connect with their wife. There, I said it. We got it out there. That is a reality for a lot of guys, right? And it makes sense when you think about it, because after all, our culture does not really train us as men to know how to connect. Guys, really, we're trained as boys to focus on things like what we can do physically with our body, right? We know how to do that. So I can shoot a basketball, I can catch a football. There are some people that can make furniture, not me, but I know those guys. Or society trains us to, figure out how we can use our mind intellectually to solve problems. So, man, boys are great at math, or they use engineering to solve problems, but the world of connection and emotion, man, it's truly foreign for many guys. And this lack of training typically takes its most significant toll on the marital relationship. It just does. So what do you do if you're married to one of these disconnected guys? You ready? I'm gonna give you some feedback, ladies. Number one, recognize that your man probably doesn't even know he's disconnected. This is going to be news to him, trust me. Most men who are disconnected, they truly think they're doing everything they're supposed to be doing. They're working hard for the family, they're going to work every day, they're fixing things around the house, they're going to church with you every Sunday, they might even take you on the occasional date, the big romantic, right? These guys think they're doing everything right, and they're not even aware that you're craving deeper, more intimate conversations, and they don't even know they're not connecting. So you got to get that in your head and say, this is a deficit. This is not them intentionally ignoring me. Number two, you've got to affirm his determination to do the right things that he does for you and your family. So you've got to start with basically telling your husband, look, I understand that what you do is difficult. I understand that when you go to work every day, it's not easy. And I appreciate what you do deeply. If you want to clue into as how you can sell this pretty hard to your husband, because a lot of women struggle with this, I'm feeling really hurt because we're not connected. How do I talk to him about affirming things? Think back to when you were dating. Think back to when, man, you thought this guy was incredible. What kind of things would you say to him? What impressed you about him? What did he say to you that made you feel really special? He still needs to hear those things. He craves your affirmation and recognition, trust me. Number three, when he does something that feels like it does breed connection, like when he actually gets this right, tell him. Like actually say, hey, When you told me this morning that I was a good mom, that made me feel real close. When you made dinner for the family, that really made me feel like you were an emotionally available husband. When you told me I looked great in that dress, that felt awesome. It's almost like your husband needs you to train him. He needs you to verbalize what actually works. And then number 4, you've got to invite him to do something that he really loves to do, and you've got to be willing to do it with him, even if it's not your favorite thing in the world, right? So if your husband loves to fish, I love to fish, you need to go fishing with him. My wife goes fishing with me. I'm pretty sure she's not crazy about it, but she goes. If he likes to hunt, get your gear on, get those heavy coats on, march out in the woods, and see how he does this thing. You don't have to shoot anything. I mean, I know you're not gonna shoot Bambi, but you can at least understand what he does and how he does it. And as you begin to become intrigued by who he is and what makes his blood boil and what gets him excited, you're going to understand and start to recognize, man, he's connecting to me more. I don't want to pretend that these strategies are going to create a deeply connected husband in 24 hours, because they're not. But they will facilitate the kind of interaction with you and your husband that over time, that it'll allow you to develop the skill set to acknowledge his emotion in very real and tangible ways. And in the end, you'll have the hope that your disconnected husband has the capacity for very real, intimate, close connection.
Well, we are joined by our kitchen couples, each in our own little kitchen boxes that you see around here. We've got Mike and Diane. We've got Eric and Kara and Dan and Danielle. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Dr. Mike on the beach. I always love the scenery there on the beach. It's captivating, but I got to listen to what he's saying too.
Yeah.
Emotionally disconnected men, and that's a touchy topic, maybe.
You know what? That is a biggie for a lot of women.
Yeah.
Across the country, as we do our seminars, our marriage seminars, I find a lot of women struggle with this, that it's one of our top needs, is to be emotionally connected. But men, if you're not used to that, if you weren't raised that way, like Dr. Mike said, it can be a real challenge, a real struggle.
Well, I grew up rooming with my brother
Yes.
pretty much all my growing up years. We shared a room. And then even in college, we ended up on football scholarships in the States, and we roomed together in college. And so we just kind of knew our own way of communicating, and we would just kind of grunt, and we know what each other means, and we didn't use a lot of words and go really deep into the
True
emotional
story.
conversations.
True story.
And
Yeah.
so I didn't really know how to connect emotionally with Anne. I had something I had to learn, but it put some effort into it. Eventually, got there, but I'm still learning.
Well, I think it's a steep learning curve for most guys. What do you think? What do you guys think?
Yeah, honestly, I am my father's son.
By the way, he's my son.
That's right. That's right. I
Yeah.
do admit to being emotionally disconnected, and probably because like my friend group growing up through high school and everything, we were all these manly, large, tough guys, and I'm probably even had a mindset of if there's a man who's emotional, that's a sign of weakness, and so I have since been converted to the other way, and I know now that showing emotions is healthy. And yeah,
I remember feeling in our third year of marriage that there was a shift, that before that I just felt like we weren't really connecting. Like, yes, we were together every day, we were married and all of that stuff, but I just remember feeling like I don't really feel connected to Eric. And somewhere in our third year, it just changed. And I think probably because our communication changed, I found that Dr. Mike, all of his topics, they all involve communication and good communication.
Very practical teachings,
like
yeah.
He doesn't realize that maybe he's not connected. So I think that's a perfect opportunity for us to open up. But also I think too with social media and just media in general, that they make it seem like guys have all the answers and they just know the right cues and what to do. And so we expect that, but that's not always the case.
I love that Dr. Mike said, don't just assume that your husband isn't all in because he might express himself differently or something like that. And I agree that you need to lead with affirmation. I have learned, and I feel like I've gotten better with, okay, girls listening, your husband doesn't want to be mothered when you're trying to change him or something. You want to do things in a positive way, but resist the urge to parent your spouse. So just be careful of that. He was talking about trying to encourage change and helping them along, but I would just say that as a warning for sure.
Right. So that would be the stick side, and then there's the carrot side. And I would say, I actually talk about this when I talk about leadership things in worship team training and stuff, but that what is rewarded is repeated. So what even better than the mothering or this, you're not giving me this, or you're not doing this or whatever, is when he does that one thing that you want or that you like, make sure they know about it, like reward that. Yeah. Affirmation is one of the best ways to, because there's something in us that likes that and responds to that and we want to do more of that, because I like what I saw in you. I like what you saw in me. I want to be that man that you were happy with. I want to do that more. So, because we're not willfully being whatever lacking, we want to. I think most men, we want to do better. So when you let us know, hey, you got it right there. Okay, mental note. I want to do more of that. I want to do that more.
So you're responding to feeling successful rather than feeling like a failure.
Right. And men tend to gravitate towards the things that they feel successful at and want to do that more. And they don't want to do the things that we don't feel successful at.
I agree. And we have to remember too, that most people change partners because they don't want to change themselves. So we have to remember that we have to make an effort to let our spouses know, like Dan just said, I appreciate what you did for me today. I love that. That was awesome. And when you do that, they will continue to do that. They don't want us nagging them and telling them the negative things. They want to hear the positive things. So it's important that we pour positivity into our relationship, and we will get good from that.
Oh, she's so smart. And I want to apologize on behalf of all the guys, ladies, on behalf of all the guys out there, because I was just like them. Yeah, I was just like every one of them. And so I want to say this, asking questions. Yeah, like you ever be like around people who all they do is talk about themselves all the time? What really makes you interesting, what really makes you engaging is when you ask people questions about themselves. Guys, we're not wired that way, right? Our job is to kind of tell them the hill that I jumped or the river that I swam. That's kind of what we're wired that way. But when we learn to ask questions, it's magic. And then when we ask the right questions, it's out of this world.
Fireworks.
Yes. A couple of examples. One is that question, what's most important to you? Another is, what's the biggest challenge in our marriage? And what is the most important thing I can do? And when we learn to ask questions, it really unlocks, I think, the key to a discovery of a much more intimate, much more trustworthy relationship.
Absolutely. Good. And that's the key to opening up emotionally between the two of you. That's excellent. Really good.
Okay. Well, this discussion could keep going and going. I think we're all connecting here very well emotionally, but we got to move on. So thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
More A Better Us still to come, so stay with us.
As you see me talk, you see how my hands are going and what's happening right there. I am passionate. And so when I talk, sometimes it's she doesn't disagree with what I'm saying. It's how I say it.
For more marriage encouragement, follow A Better Us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
And subscribe for your free weekly Marriage Moment email at abetterus.tv.
Well,
aren't you glad, Pam, we've never had an argument with each other?
Oh, don't we wish? Yeah.
Hey, every loving couple has conflict with one another. And the reason why is you married what you don't have.
Right.
Hey, Pam has the stuff in life that I don't possess, and that's why I'm so fascinated with her. And it's why at times I get irritated.
Frustrated.
Yeah.
But it's a choice. We
Yeah.
can use those differences to have conflict or connection. And if you create a conflict covenant, it's going to protect your relationship.
Right, because the one thing I wish I had been told earlier in life, we all have one of those, I wish I'd known earlier, is that our emotions always follow our decisions. And when you're in conflict with each other, it's an emotional experience. And if you decide together how you're going to approach it, you harness all those emotions so that it works for you rather than dividing you from one another.
Some things that you might want to put in a conflict covenant are words that you will or won't say, like I'm not going to swear at you, I'm not going to use the word divorce. I promise to not run over you with the car.
Oh, that's a good one.
Right?
Yeah.
But there's one thing in our conflict covenant that Bill definitely wanted.
Right, but we hold hands when we are in conflict with each other, because I know that if we're holding hands...
I'm not going to throw stuff, right?
And I grew up with a mom who was a thrower. Like, she used to think that a plate is worth 1,000 words, and I needed to know that my wife was not going to do that. And another thing we have in our conflict covenant is we will finish every argument.
Yeah.
And what that means, that doesn't mean that we've necessarily come up with a solution. It means we are back in love with each other. Because the things you're most irritated with your spouse are the things you love most about your spouse. And when we've rediscovered what we love about each other, we know we're done with the argument.
Right. And sometimes it's a commitment, though, to reschedule. Like, we would get together. There was a moment in our life when, well, Bill likes to call it the awakening in her life.
So Pam, like she had this moment in her life where her need to start writing was on. And her need to finish her degree was on. And her desire to build a ministry for women that would help change their lives was on. And we had 3 little kids.
And the youngest was 2, and I was headed back to school to finish that degree. And Bill was always so supportive, but all of a sudden he was kind of upset at me.
Right, because it looked to me like she was putting way too much energy into the pursuit of her career at a time when it wasn't conducive. Like, in my mind, when all of our kids got into school, I was going to be wholeheartedly for you doing all this, and our youngest was 18 months old. So I just wasn't ready for her to have this much energy about it.
And one day we were just like, we had done the conflict covenant where we, talked and we tried to talk it out and got nowhere. We rescheduled, like all year long.
Right. It went on for a year. People ask us all the time, what's the longest argument you've ever had? Well, it went on for a full year.
So after almost a year of just arguing every week about this pace of going to school, like I was just like desperate. And so I just fell down in front of the sofa and Bill followed me and we're like crying into our sofa. And I'm like, God, I thought I was like answering the call to be a writer and a speaker and build women's ministries, but Bill's like mad at me and I don't understand if I'm misreading it or something happening that I need to fix for my side. Please start with me, God.
Right, and my prayer was, I love this woman, but I don't like her right now. So God, if there's something that needs to change in me, show me what it is. If there's something that needs to change in her, show her what it is. But we cannot keep living like this.
And then we got up and we said, amen. No bells and whistles, no angels singing. But the next day, I was on campus.
Right, and shortly after that prayer, I came to this realization. The reason why Pam couldn't say no to what she was doing is that God had put this on her heart. And at that point, it was a real problem for me because up until then, I thought I was arguing with Pam. Now I realized I was arguing with God. So I said, God, would you show me a way to tell Pam that I'm back on board?
And so I was in my English class, and the professor was saying, romance is dead. It's always been dead. It's just an illusion. No 2 people can stay in love for a lifetime. And all the women are like, yeah, because men are scum. And all the guys are just like heads down, taking notes, wanting the class to be over. And the door popped open, and in walks my handsome Bill with a dozen roses.
I gave them to her and said, I love you, Pam, and walked out the room.
And then all the women, the teacher said, so Pam, is it your birthday? No. Your anniversary? No. Why do you come in the class then? Well, I think that he wants me to know that he believes in the dream on my heart to be a writer. And then all the women are like, so does Bill have a brother?
Right. And Pam loves public attention, so I figured this would get the message across, and it did. And the reason we were able to get to that great moment is we had a conflict covenant that helped us finish every argument.
So this week, take time to write that conflict covenant, those rules of engagement, to make your conflict work for you. It will protect your love so that maybe some roses will show up at your doorstep too.
Well, we are back in the kitchen with our kitchen couples, Mike and Diane, and Eric and Kara, and Dan and Danielle. And guys, this is not the first show we've talked about conflict
Not at all.
during, because I think it's such an important topic when you're trying to become a better us. Let's face it.
And I like how Bill and Pam in their teaching there, they said it's really important to establish these rules of engagement ahead of time. Because when you're in the heat of the emotional conflict, you could say and do things that if ahead of time you've said, here are the things we won't say and do when we're entering into a conflict, then it really helps to set those ground rules that you can follow along and keep each other accountable to.
Absolutely.
So what are some of the thoughts you guys had with this teaching?
Yeah, well, okay, we'll admit we have not ever made a conflict covenant, but Bill and Pam, you are inspiring us to do so. I just love them. Lots of things I love about Bill and Pam, but one thing I noticed when they were talking was their conflict resolution involved humility. I noticed that both Pam and Bill had a moment where they said, okay, God, if there's something with me that needs to be changed, then work on me first. They both came to that conclusion, and the result was an actual conflict resolution. So I think that's definitely an important key. And then I also loved, it was really freeing for me when Bill kind of said, okay, as far as finishing a conversation or, coming to a resolution, it doesn't mean that you have a solution, but that might not get there. We might not get there in one sitting, but we have to be okay with each other and find a way to move on and have resolution between us emotionally, even if we don't totally solve the problem.
Pam ended, I think, by saying, and make your conflict work for you. And the idea that a conflict actually can work for you, and that's actually beneficial to work out some of these things. And I think the idea of the conflict, it's kind of like a fence or an umbrella, something that draws the boundaries. We've had other shows talking about boundaries too, and how boundaries actually give us freedom. That we can talk about these things, but neither of us, we feel safe because we're going to stay within those fences, and no one's going to go wild and crazy and to start talking about, divorce or I never should have married you or whatever, these things that we've said. No, there's a fence here, there's a boundary, and we're going to respect each other and stay within those boundaries. And then I think then you're in a safe place where you can make that conflict work for you, and you can actually have a constructive conflict.
Yeah, I loved how they said that you marry what you don't have. So like there are differences between you, and of course when there are differences between you, they're going to come up sometimes in negative ways. And so I also really loved what they said about how an argument within the marriage should be two people searching for love again, searching for the love in the love you have for them, as opposed to kind of beat them down, kind of build them up and find the love that you first fell in love with them.
I think too, with having a covenant and kind of creating those boundaries, it helps with like putting your ego and your pride to the side, because you're not trying to one up each other. You already know the parameters of this, and then you work together for a goal, and it's kind of trying to gain something instead of trying to beat each other down.
Well, no, we've never made a conflict covenant either. But I do know my husband has this saying, he loves to say, it's not how you go through, but how you grow through. And I think it's very important as couples that we remember whenever we get into an argument that we learn something from it. We take something positive from it so that we can grow and become better together.
I tell you, she does make me better, obvious, and I really this whole idea of conflict can be so disruptive. It can be so harsh, and sometimes it can be so innocent. Like one of the things that as you see me talk, you see how my hands are going and what's happening right there. I am passionate, and so when I talk, sometimes it's she doesn't disagree with what I'm saying. It's how I say it, because I'm talking with my hands, and so I have to learn. And so know this, that we're on a continuous cycle, trying to learn and understand. And God has made marriage in this way, I think, in a special way, so we don't get stale. So we never get there. So it's consistently evolving. And so don't be discouraged if you're having the challenge, but having this kind of process, putting rules in place, gives you boundaries, and it really prepares a foundation for you. So let's all move forward in a productive way together.
That's good. That's good. Now, like you guys, we had never made a conflict covenant, but we did have kind of like understood rules in place for when we do have disagreements or arguments. So maybe that is a conflict. I don't know. We never named it that.
It always helps though to put it down and agree upon it.
Yeah. So some of the things that we've kind of had in our relationship over the years is we don't yell at each other. You just don't yell. And if you're tempted to yell and your voice kind of raises, we kind of bring it down. We say that to each other, just bring the tone down. Another thing is we keep our emotions under control, and we may have to kind of walk away from each other for a couple of minutes just to kind of take a deep breath. And so that when we come back together to talk about it, we're more calm. And then we don't attack each other. Because it's so easy, you always do this and you're so frustrating and I can't stand it when you do that. Don't do that. Just avoid. It's tempting to do that, but don't do that, because then that puts them on the defensive, and that's not going to solve anything.
And one kind of unwritten rule we always had when the kids were young is don't argue or have your conflict in front of the kids.
Yeah.
Go behind the closed doors, because it really affects them in a negative way for sure.
I mean, it's one thing for them to discover how to resolve conflict, and hopefully you live that out too in front of them. But when you have something that's really disruptive between the two of you, we always would try to do that behind closed doors. So I think we're out of time.
We are. We got to move on. I'll just add, you put prayer into the mix as well, because it's hard to stay mad at someone that you're praying with and for.
That's the best way to end this segment. Absolutely.
Okay, well, thanks everyone for joining us from your kitchens. Okay.
Stay with us. There's more Better Us to come. All right.
Hi, we hope you're enjoying the show.
Our vision at A Better Us is to see every marriage become a loving union that creates a safe family haven, building a legacy of hope for future generations.
That's why we feel it's so important to invest in marriage relationships through producing a new episode of A Better Us every week.
Absolutely. If you feel as we do that marriages are worth investing in, then please consider joining us as a member of A Better Us with a monthly donation of $25.
You'll be making a big difference in lives and families, and we'll send you 2 of our special mugs, the mugs that you see our kitchen couples using each program.
Absolutely. And be sure to send us your mugshot selfie, and we'll post it on our Facebook page and on our website.
Simply visit abetterus.tv and click donate to set up your automatic monthly giving. And God bless you, and thank you so much for making this program possible and helping us strengthen marriages,
so we can all become a better us.
Today's program has been all about our connection as a couple.
Whether it's connecting emotionally with a disconnected spouse or not allowing conflict in your marriage to break your connection.
Either of those takes work, and that's okay, because any good thing in your life takes work, and it's worth it.
But maybe you're getting tired of the work. You're not seeing much progress, and you're beginning to wonder if your connection will ever be strong. You know what? Don't give up.
It may take connecting with a counselor who can give you the tools to actually see a difference in your relationship. And there's absolutely no shame in that.
Not at all. But the best starting place is in your connection with God. As you invite Him into your relationship, He will give the two of you more wisdom and strength and determination to see things through than you ever thought possible.
Maybe that's a foreign concept to you, and that's okay. But can we encourage you to find out more about it? The number on your screen will connect you to our 24/7 prayer line, where you will find a caring person who will love to walk you through what a personal relationship with God looks like.
And if you'd like, They'll pray with you for whatever is heavy on your heart today. And remember, as we like to end every program, with God, there is always hope to become a better us.
Hey friends, we really hope you're enjoying the marriage conversations here with A Better Us on our YouTube channel.
We have hundreds of more helpful marriage videos designed to give you hope and tools to make your marriage better.
And you can see just a few options we think you might like here and here.
Enjoy! Oh, and make sure you subscribe by clicking here so you don't miss out on all the great marriage help we have coming your way soon.